My name is Vera. I'm 34 years old and I'm from Colorado. So here's the thing. I have always thought my husband, Felix, and I had a pretty solid relationship. He is 36, laid back, does not really stress about much, which is a nice balance to me because I can be a little, well, intense. That night, we were at one of his friend Marcus's parties. Felix does not have a lot of friends, so when he actually wants to hang out with people, I make an effort. I figured we would go have a few drinks and leave after a couple of hours. It started off normal. The house was packed and everyone seemed to know each other, which was not surprising since Felix had been friends with most of these people for years. I did not know everyone, but that never bothers me. I am pretty good at blending in, and honestly, I kind of like being the center of attention when I am in the mood for it. So while Felix was catching up with Marcus, I mingled a bit. A few hours in, a group of us ended up in the circle, just talking and laughing about random stuff. At some point, someone brought up relationships. Like, how much do you trust your partner to have your back if things went sideways? It was all hypothetical, of course, but the question made me smirk. I looked at Felix, who was sitting next to me, quiet as usual. And before I even thought about it, I said something like, "Oh, I know Felix would not be able to protect me. I mean, look at him." It got a laugh. A big one. And I felt that little rush you get when you know you have said something funny. So I kept going. I teased him about how he does not work out, how he can barely open jars sometimes. I threw in a joke about how we would both be victims if someone tried to mug us because he would just freeze up. People were dying laughing. Even Marcus made a joke about Felix skipping leg day. It turned into this whole thing. Felix did not say anything, though. He just kind of sat there with this weird half smile, like he did not want to make it awkward. But I could tell he was not laughing. So, of course, instead of stopping, I doubled down. I pointed at his arms and said something like, "Seriously, though, he has got arms like a sixth grader. No offense, babe." People lost it again. I mean, it was funny, right? And it is not like I was saying anything that was not true. But then, out of nowhere, Felix stood up. Just like that. Stood up, grabbed his jacket, and walked out of the room. No explanation, nothing. At first, I thought he was just going to the bathroom or needed some air. But when he did not come back after a couple of minutes, I realized he was gone. Like, gone. The mood in the room shifted immediately. People stopped laughing, and there was this awkward silence. Marcus looked at me and was like, "You okay?" That was kind of harsh, which threw me off because in my head it was just a joke. A joke. We have teased each other before. It is not like I broke some unspoken rule or something. Still, I tried to play it off. I shrugged and said, "He is probably just tired or whatever." He was fine. But inside, I was annoyed. Like, what was his problem? It is not like I was lying. And it is not like anyone there was going to think less of him. If anything, I thought I would make him look good, for being able to laugh at himself. I stayed at the party for a little while longer, but it was not the same. People were polite, but the vibe was off. And I felt this weird mix of irritation and embarrassment. Finally, I said my goodbyes and called an Uber. When I got home, Felix was in bed, pretending to be asleep. I did not say anything to him. I figured he would get over it by morning. But the next day, things were different. He barely spoke to me. When he did, it was short and clipped, like he could not be bothered. I asked him what his deal was, and he just looked at me and said, "You humiliated me in front of my friends." That caught me off guard because, again, I did not think it was that serious. I told him, "It was a joke, Felix. Do not be so sensitive." He did not respond. Instead, he just walked out of the room. And that is when I realized he was not going to let this go. When I woke up the next morning, Felix was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with his coffee. He did not look up when I walked in, which immediately irritated me. I mean, fine, he was upset last night, but this silent treatment thing was not going to work for me. "Morning," I said, pouring myself a cup of coffee. No response. He just kept scrolling on his phone like I was not even there. "Okay, are we seriously doing this?" I asked, sitting down across from him. "Because if we are, let us just get it over with." He set his phone down and finally looked at me. "Why would you think it is okay to humiliate me like that in front of my friends?" His voice was not loud, but it was sharp. "Oh my God, Felix, are you still on this?" It was a joke. I was not trying to humiliate you. "Well, that is exactly what you did," he snapped. "You made me feel like a fool in front of everyone. You do not think I already know I am not the strongest guy in the world? You did not need to put it on display like that." I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. "Okay, but you left me there, Felix, alone. You were mad about a joke. But you thought it was fine to just walk out and leave your wife at your friend's house? How is that okay?" "I needed to get out of there," he said, shaking his head. "Do you have any idea how disrespectful you were? You do not talk about your husband like that, Vera, especially not in front of other people. It is like you were trying to embarrass me." I let out a short laugh, more out of frustration than anything else. "Felix, it was teasing. Everyone was laughing. It is not like I stood up and gave a speech about how you were a failure. And honestly, walking out like that did not exactly prove me wrong. You left me there to Uber home like some random person. What kind of man does that?" His face turned red, and I could see him clenching his jaw. "You do not get it, do you?" he said, his voice louder now. "You do not respect me. If you did, you would not have said half the stuff you did last night. You would not have kept going when you saw how uncomfortable I was." I threw up my hands. "Of course I respect you, Felix, but you did not exactly act respectable last night, did you? A grown man does not just storm out and leave his wife behind because he is upset over a joke. You could have pulled me aside and said something. Instead, you bailed. And now you want to lecture me about respect." He stared at me for a long moment, and I could tell he was processing what I said. Finally, he sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "You were right," he muttered. "I should not have left you there. That was not okay." I raised an eyebrow, surprised he was actually admitting it. "Yeah, that is what I thought," I said, leaning forward. "So maybe next time, do not overreact and make things worse. If you had just talked to me, we would not even be having this conversation." He did not say anything for a second, just looked down at his coffee. "I just wish you would think about how what you say affects me," he said quietly. "I am not asking you to change who you are, just think about it." I shrugged, not wanting to push it further now that he had apologized. "Sure, I will think about it. But you also need to think about how you handle things. Deal?" He nodded, though he still looked annoyed. I could tell this was not over for him. But for me, as far as I was concerned, the matter was settled. After our conversation, I felt pretty good. Felix apologized, which meant I had won the argument. And as far as I was concerned, that was that. Sure, he still seemed a little off, but he would get over it. He always did. That is how our relationship worked. He would get upset about something. I would hold my ground. And eventually, he would come around. I did not even have to think about it anymore. Felix was not exactly the take charge type. I had always been the one who kept things moving in our relationship, whether it was making plans, handling finances, or deciding what to watch on TV. He did not mind. If anything, I think he liked it that way. It is not like he ever fought me on it. So when I say I was the one in control, I am not exaggerating. That is just how we were. And it worked. Well, it worked for me. A couple of nights later, Felix told me he was going out for dinner with some friends. Marcus and the guys, he said. Like that was all the explanation I needed. I raised an eyebrow but did not press him. I mean, I could guess what this was about. One of those guys' nights where they all get together and hash out their feelings over beers and burgers. Probably talking about how awful I am and how Felix deserves better. I was not stupid. I had seen how they looked at me after the party, and honestly, I was not surprised. Guys like Marcus and his crew always act like they are above drama, but they are just as bad as women when it comes to gossip. Still, I did not say anything. If Felix needed to vent to them, whatever. Let him. He would come home and we would go back to normal. But when he came back that night, something was different. It was not anything dramatic. He was not storming in with accusations or anything like that. It was more subtle. He was quieter than usual, like he was lost in thought. And when I asked him how dinner was, he just shrugged and said it was fine. Just fine. I teased, trying to lighten the mood. What, did Marcus overcook the steak or something? He gave me this small, almost forced smile and said, no, the food was good. Just had a lot on my mind. That was weird for Felix. Normally, he would tell me all about what they talked about, who said what, and which joke got the biggest laugh. But not this time. This time, he just brushed it off and went to bed early, leaving me sitting there wondering what the hell was going on. Over the next few days, I started noticing more changes. Little things at first. He did not seem as eager to go along with my plans. Like when I suggested we watch a movie, he said, you pick. I will just watch whatever, in this tone that felt more like he was annoyed than indifferent. Or when I brought up our weekend plans, he casually mentioned that he might go hiking with Marcus instead, which was not something he would normally do. Felix was not a big outdoors guy. It was not just his actions either. It was his attitude. He seemed more confident, maybe. I do not know how else to describe it. Like he was not waiting for my approval before doing things. I was not used to it, and I did not like it. Not because I want to control him, okay? Maybe a little, but because it felt like he was pulling away from me. Like he was shutting me out, and I had no idea why. One night, I finally brought it up. You have been acting different lately, I said while we were getting ready for bed. What is going on? He looked at me, and for a second, I thought he was going to deny it. But then he said, I have just been thinking a lot about us. About me. About what I want. That threw me off. What you want? I repeated, trying to keep my voice calm. What is that supposed to mean? He shrugged. Just that I have been letting things slide for too long. I have been too passive, too whatever. I need to start standing up for myself more. That is all. I laughed, trying to play it off, but inside I felt this weird pang of unease. You make it sound like I have been running a dictatorship or something. Is this about the party? Because we already talked about that. It is not just the party, he said, looking me straight in the eye. It is everything. And just like that, the conversation shifted. It was not about one night or one joke anymore. It was about our entire relationship. And for the first time, I realized he might not be okay with how things were. For the first time, I started wondering if I was losing control. Felix came home from work one evening, and I could tell right away something was on his mind. He had that serious look, the one he gets when he is about to say something he has been rehearsing in his head for hours. I did not ask what it was, though. If it was important, he would tell me. Or at least that is how it usually went. We had dinner, mostly in silence. And then, just as I was clearing the plates, he finally spoke up. We need to talk. I sighed, already annoyed. Okay, what now? He did not flinch at my tone, which was unusual. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, his arms crossed. Why do you treat me the way you do? That caught me off guard. What are you even talking about? I mean, the way you talk to me. The way you act like you are the only one who matters in this relationship. Do you even respect me, Vera? Honestly? I rolled my eyes. Of course I respect you, Felix. You are my husband. Why are you even asking me that? He shook his head, frustrated. Because you do not act like it. You humiliated me in front of my friends, and when I tried to tell you how I felt, you made it about how I overreacted. You do not listen to me. You do not care what I want. And half the time, it feels like I am just here to be your punching bag. That is not fair, I shot back. I was not trying to humiliate you. I told you it was a joke. You were the one who made it into this big thing. This is not just about the party, Vera, he said, his voice sharper now. It is about everything. The way you talk to me, the way you dismiss me when I try to say how I feel. If you really respected me, you would not treat me like this. I felt my face heat up. Felix, do not act like you are some perfect angel in all of this. You do not stand up for yourself. You let me handle everything. And now you want to sit here and act like I am the bad guy? Maybe if you stepped up more, I would not have to take charge all the time. That is not an answer, he said, cutting me off. Why did you even marry me if you do not respect me? Was it convenience? Because I was a safe choice? Or was there something else? Because I am starting to think I am not the person you actually wanted to marry. I froze. The words hit me like a slap. That is ridiculous, I said quickly. You are twisting this into something it is not, am I? He challenged, his voice rising. Because the way you treat me does not feel like love, Vera. It feels like I am just here. Like I am not enough for you. And maybe I never was. That is not true, I snapped. But even as I said it, I could feel the cracks forming in my defense. You are overthinking this. You are letting your friends get in your head, are not you? They have been filling you with this nonsense, and now you are trying to blame me for things that are not even real. My friends did not make me feel this way, he said firmly. You did. They just gave me the push to say something. And I'm glad they did, because we cannot keep going like this, Vera. This is not healthy. It is not fair to either of us. I crossed my arms, leaning back in my chair. Oh, so what is the solution then? Counseling? Divorce? Are you just going to throw in the towel because I make a few jokes you do not like? This is not about the jokes, he said. This is about respect. About whether or not you even want to be with me. Because right now, it feels like you do not. I scoffed. That is insane. You are blowing this way out of proportion. No, he said, his voice steady now. I am asking for the truth. Is there someone else? Or is it just that I was never the guy you really wanted? The question hit like a gut punch. For a second, I could not speak. My first instinct was to deny it, to lash out. But something in his tone stopped me. He was not angry. He was not accusing. He was just done. I stood up, pushing my chair back with more force than I meant to. You know what, Felix? Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe this is a lost cause. You want to sit here and play the victim like you have been some perfect husband, but you have not been. And maybe, just maybe, I am not the bad guy here. Maybe we're just not meant to be. He did not say anything. He just looked at me with this calm, almost resigned expression. And for the first time, I realized he was not trying to win the argument. He was trying to figure out if there was anything left to fight for. What do you want to do? He asked quietly. Because I cannot keep doing this, Vera. We either fix it or we walk away. I did not have an answer. For the first time in a long time, I did not know what to say. We sat in silence for what felt like forever. Felix was dead serious, and the weight of his words was hanging in the air between us. Finally, I sighed, trying to sound composed. All right, if you want to fix it, we will try counseling. His eyebrows raised slightly, and I could see he was not expecting me to agree so quickly. Really? Yes, I said, leaning forward and clasping my hands together like I was being sincere. I do not want to throw this marriage away. If you think counseling will help, then let us do it. It was not a total lie. I did not want a divorce. I liked my life, and Felix was a part of that. But the truth was, I figured this whole thing was just a phase. He was feeling himself after that little pep talk from his friends. But he would come back down to earth soon enough. Scheduling counseling? Sure, actually going through with it? That was another story. I told him I would find a counselor and set something up. But weeks went by and I never did. Every time he brought it up, I had an excuse. Oh, I have been so busy with work. The ones I found are all booked up. I am waiting for someone to call me back. He seemed to believe me at first, but eventually the questions stopped. I figured he had gotten over it, just like I thought he would. Then one night, he brought it up again. We were sitting on the couch watching TV, and he just turned to me and said, "You never scheduled counseling, did you?" I froze for a second, but quickly recovered. I told you I have been trying. It is not as easy as it sounds, Felix. Do not lie to me, he said, his voice calm but firm. You never planned to do it, did you? I rolled my eyes, immediately defensive. Oh, come on, Felix. Do not act like I do not care about this marriage. I said I would do it, and I will. No, he said, cutting me off. You will not. And you do not care. Not enough, anyway. If you did, we would not even be here right now. Here we go again, I muttered, crossing my arms. Why do you always have to make me the bad guy? Because you will not own up to anything, he snapped, his voice rising. You do not respect me, Vera. You do not even take this seriously. And honestly, I am done pretending this is going to work. I want a divorce. I stared at him, stunned. What did you just say? I said I want a divorce, he repeated, his tone steady. This is not healthy. You do not respect me, and I cannot be with someone who does not even want to try to fix things. I laughed, but it was more out of disbelief than anything else. You are not serious. I am, he said, looking me dead in the eye. I have been serious for a while now. I just needed to make sure this was not fixable. And it is not. You're being ridiculous, I said, shaking my head. You're just mad right now? You will calm down and see how stupid this is. No, Vera, he said firmly. I am not mad. I am clear. I deserve better than this. That is when it hit me. He was not bluffing. He was not trying to make a point or win an argument. He meant it. He wanted out. And I panicked. I stood up, glaring at him. Are you kidding me? You want a divorce after everything I have done for you? After all the years I have put up with you being weak and passive and... Stop, he said sharply. But I ignored him. No, you're going to hear this, I said, my voice getting louder. You are pathetic, Felix. You have always been pathetic. You let me walk all over you for years, and now suddenly you think you are some big man because your little friends told you to grow a backbone? You are a joke. I wish I never married you. You are an embarrassment. A fragile, weak excuse for a man. You cannot even handle a little joke without running to your friends like a child. And now you think you are better than me? By the time I finished, I was shaking, my chest heaving with emotion. But as the words hung in the air, I realized something. There was no one else to blame. Not Felix, not his friends, not anyone. Just me. He stared at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he stood up and walked to the door. "You do not have to say anything else," he said quietly. "I will stay at Marcus's for now. You can call me when you have had time to think about what you really want." And just like that, he was gone. For the first time in our entire relationship, I was not the one in control. And for the first time, I did not know if I wanted him to come back. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. It was as fair as it could have been. No one got screwed over. I kept the house. He kept the car. We split the savings evenly. But it did not feel like a win. It felt like losing a part of myself that I could not get back. Felix stopped coming around altogether. I would see updates on his Facebook page every now and then. Pictures of him smiling with Marcus and the guys. Hiking in places I did not even know he liked. He looked happy, free, and the comments from his friends made it clear that they were fully on his side. People I thought were our friends stopped reaching out to me entirely. No more invites to parties. No more texts to check in. It was like I had been cut out of the group completely. At first, I was angry. How could they all turn on me like that? But deep down, I knew why. They were not my friends. They were his, and they did not like me. Maybe they never had. 3 months after the divorce, the silence from everyone else did not bother me as much as Felix's happiness did. Every time I saw him post a picture or an update, it was another reminder that he was better off without me. That stung more than anything. I wanted to believe he was just putting on a show, but the smile in his photos did not look fake. He looked strong, different, like the man I used to wish he would be. But it was too late for it to matter. I tried to distract myself. I tried to move on, but nothing felt right. Dating apps were a joke. The men I met were either weird, broke, or looking for something I was not. I did not even know what I wanted anymore. All I knew was that I did not want to end up alone. But with every passing week, that possibility started to feel more real. I still told myself the divorce was for the best. That Felix was not the man I needed. That I would find someone stronger, more decisive, someone who could handle me. But every time I saw his name pop up on my newsfeed, that little voice in the back of my head told me I had made a mistake. And that maybe, just maybe, I had been the problem all along. But I would never say that out loud. Not to anyone.